Making no bones about India's tough stance on terror, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while chairing the virtual Shanghai Cooperation Organization or SCO Summit, today told leaders of the member states, including Pakistan, that there must not be any double standards in combating terror activities, and the bloc must not hesitate to criticize countries that support cross-border terrorism as part of their state policy. No prizes for guessing, the reference was to Pakistan, even though it wasn't named, and these remarks were made in the presence of Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Prime Minister Modi added, there is a need for decisive action to deal with terrorism and terror financing, as terrorism has become a threat to regional and global peace. Prime Minister Modi called for expanding mutual cooperation among the member nations to deal with the menace. He said we have to fight together against terrorism that may be in any form or manifestation. Also in attendance were Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin. The virtual summit under India's presidency was attended by all 9 members, including Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan and Iran, with Iran formally joining the bloc. Let's now take a look at what the joint statement or the New Delhi SCO declaration says. It reads, and I quote, the member states consider it important to build up joint coordinated efforts by the international community to counter the activities of terrorist, separatist and extremist groups, paying special attention to preventing the spread of religious intolerance, aggressive nationalism, ethnic and racial discrimination, xenophobia, ideas of fascism and chauvinism. Reaffirming their strong commitment to fighting terrorism, the member states are determined to continue taking active measures to eliminate the conditions conducive to the spread of terrorism, to disrupt the terror financing channels, to suppress recruitment activities and cross-border movement of terrorists, to counter extremism and radicalization of youth, the dissemination of terrorist ideology, and to eliminate sleeper cells and places used as terrorist safe havens. The statement also refers to the need for a joint fight against drug trafficking. Significantly, it also states the member nations emphasize that the principles of mutual respect for sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity of states, non-interference in internal affairs and non-use of force or threats to use force are the basis of sustainable development of international relations. We're asking on the show today, can these talks lead to real progress in the fight against terrorism? What does the coming together of India, Pakistan and China on a single platform really mean? Ambassador Suresh Goel, let me start with you. As was expected, it turns out terror was the primary focus of this virtual SCO summit. Of course, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as I said, making no bones about the fact that this is India's top priority, and India will continue to, emphasize the need for the international community to come together to jointly fight terror at every opportunity available, at every international forum. What's, of course, very interesting is that, without naming Pakistan, it is very clear that the Prime Minister was referring to our neighbouring country when he talked about support for cross-border terrorism, and these remarks were made in the presence of Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Also interestingly, like I said, the New Delhi SCO declaration has repeated references to the need for a joint fight against terrorism. It talks about the need to eliminate the conditions that are conducive to the spread of terror, to disrupt terror financing channels, to suppress recruitment activities and cross-border movement of terrorists, to eliminate sleeper cells in places used as terrorist safe havens. When you read this statement, you would think almost every reference is to Pakistan, and yet Pakistan is a signatory to this joint statement. What do you make of that?
First of all, thank you very much for this question, and good to see you again after a very, very long time.
You too, sir.
Great. Now, it's a very complex statement, really. And when I read the statement and listened to the statement again on your new channel, I was really wondering what does it actually all mean? The statement and the leaders are saying everything that they mean to say without really any hope of any member country converging together on the same issue. The statement talks about sovereignty, territorial integrity. Now, what has China done in Galwan Valley? And China is there. The whole Central Asia, which is part of the SCO, is a very complex geopolitical origin. It started as a manifestation of the Chinese aspiration to control the geopolitics of the area, Central Asia. Now, Central Asia is very, very important to India in terms of what our own political and strategic priorities are. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan. Please remember that a lot of our history has come from Turkmenistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Central Asia. It's all there. And in that context, if you look at what is happening in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, is it actually looking at the political stability and safety and security of the region? I think we need to look at it very seriously because eventually it has come to be a kind of the phenomenon, the kind of political play where China is trying to achieve its own ambitions in the region. And Russia is playing at the moment a second fiddle to China because of its own economic needs. On the whole, I would say that, yes, it's a good thing that we have got a statement at the end of it. Whether the statement actually means anything, I'm being very realistic here, having been a diplomat, and therefore, rather than saying good words about everything, I'm trying to see what India has got out of it. So there is a good statement at the end of it. It's a good statement if every country goes by the statement. Unlikely. China is not going to care for the sovereignty, territorial integrity. China is going to care for what it wants in the region. Pakistan is playing as a younger brother to China. Therefore, to keep it short, I think we need to wait how it works out. It's a good thing that Iran has become part of SCO because of its own political aspirations and political behavior. It will have a good impact on where the SCO goes. So that's a good thing. If Afghanistan is able to join SCO again, that will be a good thing. Till then, let us see how it plays out. I'm not going to be very, very assuring and positive in this respect because China and Pakistan together carry a lot of weight in SCO, and with Russia coming with China, we need to be cautious. Thank you, Neha.
Ambassador Goel, I have to say that I am actually with you 100% on that issue. I think we can all be forgiven for being cynical about the outcome of such summits and the statements that are issued. You know, when the Pakistan Prime Minister says at a multilateral forum, we must jointly fight terrorism, I think irony dies many deaths.
Absolutely.
Right? So let me now go across to Professor Rajan Kumar on this issue. Professor Rajan Kumar, you know, I really wonder what Pakistan was thinking while signing the statement that talks about the need for a joint fight against terrorism and elimination of terror safe havens and terror financing channels. At the same time, when I read another portion of this statement that the ambassador just referred to, that the member states emphasize that the principles of mutual respect for sovereignty, independence, territorial integrity of states, non-interference in internal affairs, non-use of force or threats to use force are the basis of sustainable development of international relations. I do wonder, what were China and Russia thinking while putting their signatures on this statement?
Thank you, Neha. Let me clarify a few things about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Sometimes we forget that Shanghai Cooperation Organization is essentially for the Central Asian states. Yes, China is a member, Russia is a member, and of course India, Pakistan, Iran. These are the external powers. And coming to your specific question of terrorism, let me tell you that there is a difference there is a difference between two types of terrorism. What Shanghai Cooperation Organization is talking about, there is a convergence of opinion one on certain types of terrorism which are emanating or active in Central Asia and partly in Afghanistan, but there is a divergence of opinion in cases of terrorism which are emanating from Pakistan. For instance, yes, I completely agree with both of you that there is no consensus on how to define terrorism, how to understand terrorism. But all these states, they agree on eliminating terrorism from Central Asia, radicalism from Central Asia, and for instance, they agree on Al Qaeda. They agree on Islamic movement. They agree on Islamic movement of Uzbekistan. They agree on Islamic Revival Party of Tajikistan, etc. So there is an agreement on certain types of terrorist organization, and they have banned it. And this is not the first time that the Prime Minister has said. He has been saying it in all the forums, most of the forums. But when it comes to the issue of terrorism of Pakistan, as you rightly pointed out, so then there is a difference. Because Pakistan would not agree to that, and Pakistan is backed by China, also in the United Nations. Forget about Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So when it comes to banning the organization from Pakistan, then there is a problem. But also, let me tell you, because also raised, let me also say that although we often pick up terrorism as the main focus of Shanghai Cooperation Organization, but Shanghai Cooperation Organization's main focus is not terrorism. Terrorism is definitely one of the most important issues. For instance, if you have read the Prime Minister's speech, you have heard the Prime Minister's speech, and you also pointed out territorial integrity. Why is it important today? For instance, the Central Asian states are very small states. They have population of 2 crore population, 1.5 crore population, very, very small states, and they are surrounded by big powers like Russia on the one side, China, Iran, Pakistan, etc. And these countries are always threatened in terms of territorial integrity. So when Prime Minister is referring to territorial integrity, they are assuaging the fear. He's trying to eliminate the fear from the mind of some of the Central Asian states, which are feeling now threatened because of what Russia has done in Ukraine. So, for instance, Kazakhstan's situation is very similar to the situation in Ukraine. You have very high Russian minority population in about 20%, and they also want to be independent, like what you saw in the case of Ukraine. So Kazakhstan is very scared, and these states, Uzbekistan in particular, Uzbekistan has a very independent mind in Central Asia, and these states, they want to have an independent foreign policy. They want to, have because they have been traditionally been under the influence of Russia, and now in terms of economy, they have come under the influence of China. So now they know that these are the bordering states. The advantage that India has, that India is not a bordering state, so there is no fear of India occupying the territory or claiming the territory of any of the states. The second, so what these states are doing, the Central Asian states.
And India has never been an expansionist force. It has never been hegemonic.
Absolutely. So India, these states, including Russia, sometimes we go by the narrative that that China and Russia are together. But let me tell you that Russia also does not want Chinese influence growing in Central Asia. I'll give you the example. To support the statement, Eurasian Union, the economic union of that region, has not signed a free trade agreement with China. Why? Because they fear that the Chinese influence is growing, and if China grows like this, the Russian influence will be minimal in the region. So Russia considers all these states as own backyard, and even today, Russia is the main security provider of Eurasia. And for the Eurasian stability, broader Eurasian stability, Russia's role is important, and Russia would not like China to become very, very powerful in the region. So what Russia and Central Asian states are doing, they are trying to soft balance with bringing countries like India. All right, and if you see the way India's relationship has developed with Uzbekistan, for that matter, in the last few years, so you will realize that these states are very keen to develop strong ties with India economic ties, security ties, and all kinds of ties, except probably Turkmenistan, which is anyway not the member of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. All the states, they want to have very close cooperation. So they are working on connectivity. They are trying to, trying to bring investment from India, and they're also trying to balance China and Russia with India. So for that stability of that region, India becomes very important. So we need to look the Shanghai Cooperation Organization from Central Asian perspective. As far as India, China, and Russia are concerned, they're also member of BRICS. They're also member of several other multilateral organizations, G20, etc. So for Shanghai Cooperation Organization, we need to understand our focus, India's focus, should be on stability, territorial integrity. India must ensure that territorial integrity of these states should be respected, and it cannot be tolerated that any third country tries to interfere. So that is important. Development, digital issue, and then connectivity, cultural connection, developing the route through Chabar. So these are the important issues, and that's why Shanghai Cooperation Organization is extremely important for India. Although what happened in the summit, the joint, many of the things that you see today in today's statement, they're very rhetorical, they're repetitive, they've been said many times. Do not expect much from this, but Shanghai Cooperation Organization, from India's perspective of what you call multi-alignment policy in terms of strategic autonomy, is extremely important organization. Two organizations are very
Okay, let's dwell on that a little further. While I do not dispute the point that you're making about how perhaps the joint statement seeks to address the concerns of the smaller Central Asian countries that are members of SCO, but you can't help but consider the roles of countries like Pakistan, China, and Russia in their neighborhoods, and see the irony in all of this. I mean, it's almost as if you're saying that terrorism is fine as long as I am the perpetrator, but terrorism is a problem if you are spreading it. It's all very well to talk about respecting another country's territorial integrity as long as my territorial integrity is in question. As for yours, I couldn't care less. Frankly, when you look at Pakistan, Russia, China, that really seems to be the message. Therefore, you can't help but point out the irony, whether it is on the matter of terrorism or respecting the territorial integrity of other states.